crime. Today was important because Police Commissioner and Police announced at the end of last month that they would put more cops on the beat in Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch, and it's amazing within a matter of weeks to see that commitment's been followed through and more than delivered, and the results that we've seen engaging with retailers today but also talking to the police themselves, it's making a difference. And what we're here to do is to make sure that we have more police out and about on the beat, but importantly that we are restoring law and order in New Zealand and that people are feeling safer in their homes, their businesses and their communities. And so it's been really good. I want to thank the Commissioner and the police for their efforts in actually making sure that this actually comes to life and is actually happening for real on the ground, and it's been making a fantastic difference. So thank you very much, Commissioner Costa. With that, happy to take your questions.
Prime Minister, how happy are you with the effort around particularly downtown Auckland in retail crime? We've heard a lot from retailers over the past time saying they're seeing more cops, but there's still areas that need to be addressed. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I think it's a great start, and more than a great start. This has been a problem for a number of years. A number of us have been visiting. I remember Mark and I have spent a lot of time in downtown Auckland visiting with retailers over the last 2 years who've been dealing with things in incredibly tough ways. We've spoken to many of the owners of these businesses, and we've actually spoken to their frontline staff. And when you've got frontline staff coming to do retail jobs in downtown Auckland and not feeling safe and having events happen at home, and in one young case I'm thinking of a young woman who told me that she wasn't going to tell her parents that an event had happened at that workplace because they'd be worried about her working there and her partner as well. So I mean, there's anxiety that's been sitting there amongst the staff and against those owners and operators as well. So this is all part of a plan, and you don't go overturn everything overnight, but what we're trying to do is consistently keep marching forward. And so to see the police follow through and put the commitment on the ground has made a big difference, and you can see it. We just visited a place and one of the retailers said they see the police officers twice a day. They know them on a first name basis. They said they feel safer, they feel their staff feel less anxious. So, it's a start, but it's a really good start.
One thing we've seen a lot of today is the cross-agency collaboration. You've got patrols from council, heart of the city. Do you think it should fall on them to pick up areas that the police don't get to, or should it be a police matter?
Well, it's a collaborative effort, and what you're seeing here in the city is really good join-up. The police are obviously at the heart of the whole issue, but they are working really constructively with the security officers from the different retail complexes, with the City Council. There's been a number of meetings. I know Mark's participated in them, I know Sonny's participated, Casey as well, in terms of actually the stakeholders in downtown Auckland coming together and say, look, we've got to do better than this. And we have to do better because we've now got our cruise ships back in the harbour. If you're Chuck and Mary that have arrived from Iowa on your first time to New Zealand, the first time you step off a ship is what you've been seeing in downtown Auckland. That ain't a great impression of our country. And so all of those things add together to make quite a big difference. And I think as long as people are feeling safer, as long as they're feeling less anxious, and as long as we see crime trending down, that's what we've got to do, and that's the work ahead of us.
And I think just on that, I just think you've raised a really good question, is that the government has taken a lead on something that hasn't actually happened before, and that is getting everyone in the same room. Everyone has got a responsibility in terms of making our cities the safest cities in the world, instead of the direction that we were going, that was in the opposite direction. So we have started having monthly meetings where we're getting all the stakeholders in the room. That's police, that's the council, that's residents and ratepayers groups, that's business associations, Heart of the City, KO, all the government agencies, to identify collectively together so that we're all aligned and we have a strategy for making sure that we continue to head in the right direction to make Auckland a safe city that people can be proud of and walk on the streets after dark.
So I'll just come back to Laura, just because Laura, your question got interrupted.
Yeah, so when you look at the stats, how many fewer incidents have happened in CBD since you've had these reports?
Well, so all I can tell you from the briefing information that I've had from police is that we are starting to see crime starting to trend down in our CBD. We know that we've got a lot more work to do, but definitely we are heading in the right direction without a doubt.
What does that mean? 10%, 20%, 30%? How much is it increasing by?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, it's early. It's only early signs. It's green shoots in terms of us starting to see crime starting to trend down. I don't have the numbers that I can give to you today, but they're numbers that the police will be working on, and I'm sure at some point will brief me on in terms of the overall picture. And Commissioner, I don't know if you've got anything you want to add to that.
We can provide you with stats, but we're certainly seeing a downwards trend in crime. But this is a long-term thing. We need to see a sustained reduction, and that's the purpose of us.
And what I'd say is it's just been 3 weeks since July 1 was the commitment to upweight the cops on the beat, and it's what we've got is anecdotal evidence as you move around, and that's good. That's a good first step. We obviously want to see hard numbers and stats come down big time.
We do want to see a trend starting to form too in terms of that reduction in crime.
52 cops on the beat. How many at any one time? I'm assuming they're on shifts. So how many are we actually seeing at any one time?
Well, that's definitely an operational question.
So sections are sections of 9, but we are adding to that our public safety units, which are teams of a similar size. We have our tactical crime unit focused on the central city, looking after more of the repeat offenders, and then we also have our community policing team that does liaison across the different social organisations that are making a difference for antisocial behaviour. So in any given point in time it will vary, but it could be as few as 10, but it could be as many as 30. So it's going to depend on time of day, day of week. But we are deploying to where the risk is, and people are seeing a much greater presence of police 24/7 through the central city.
Could I just ask
So,
a
Simon.
follow-up question on the question of Mark's point about everyone being in the same room and the monthly planning?
Yeah.
The manager at McDonald's told us that a lot of the problem is vulnerable people who are perhaps living in emergency housing.
Yeah.
These are traumatised people, these are people who are alienated, quick to anger in many cases, substance abuse and so on. In your everybody in the same room, does that include Lifewise, City Mission, the
Yes, it
welfare
does.
agencies?
Yes, it does.
Does it include an indication of police of extra funding for extra people on the beat? Do those areas of the work also, are they going to...
There's been huge increases in funding across our budget, as you well know, because we were able to generate $21 billion worth of savings out of wasteful government spending and deploy it to frontline services. And so, there has been significant uplift in funding across our frontline services, which has been good. We're focused initially on law and order, we're focused initially on health and education. But yes, I can tell you those conversations are happening with those agencies.
Yeah, and they are in the room, Simon. So City Mission is there, our social services are all there, and in actual fact, as a result of that first meeting that I called, we had a breakout group that involved the City Mission in terms of how do we deal with our emergency and social housing in the city.
With the increase of patrols, are there going to be areas that go unserviced, given that they're relocating officers that might have tended to those areas into centres like Auckland downtown, Wellington, Christchurch?
I'll let the Commissioner talk to that, given it's operational again.
So we were able to go
Sorry, yes.
we were able to go 24/7 with our deployment here as a result of additional investment, so new positions. Obviously with the colleges pushing those staff through, so there's a short-term thing there where we're waiting for those staff to come, but we've filled out the groups. It's really common for us to move resources across Auckland according to where the problems are, and that's very routine. We'll continue to do it, and where the need is, that's where our people will be.
Prime Minister, just 3 quick abuse and care report questions.
Sure.
Are you concerned that a lawyer who's now president of the NZ Society advised the church group that had been subject to complaints from survivors that could destroy records of children cared for?
What we expect is the churches to face up to their responsibility and to come forward, and they're going to be involved in our redress system as well as we work that through before the end of the year.
And do you think there's ever an appropriate amount of time that can pass before they can destroy records of children?
Well, we want to make sure that records are available to the survivors. And again, we'll work through. There's 138 recommendations in the report. We're working through all of them, and we'll come to a decision on all of them.
And given that the Law Society is the representing body of our legal profession, are you worried that this tarnishes the nation's reputation?
What? Sorry.
That given that the president gave this advice to the church group, he is in charge, or the president of the body that represents the legal society of New Zealand.
No, I just understand what the Law Society's about, but the bigger point I'd say to you is I haven't seen what he's particularly briefed or asked. All I'm focused on is actually responding to the recommendations, working with the survivors, making sure that churches are held responsible for the abuse that they've caused as well.
On that, we have reports that a Presbyterian support group in Otago has destroyed the abuse and care documents. What's your reaction to that?
Well, it doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound what we're asking churches to do. We're calling them to responsibility, and we expect them to be fully responsible and accountable for the abuse that they've caused.
And you touched on it yesterday, but the allegations of a pedophilia ring in central government around Horowhenua, I believe. in the report it says that that was a separate and confidential investigation. What's your reaction to that? Is there going to be a reopening of that investigation, or is there...
So have you actually read the report? And you read that particular section?
So it says that a separate confidential investigation was launched. They believe that police were aware of reports but did not investigate. Are you going to potentially relaunch this?
Well, what we've said is we want people to come forward to police for any prosecutions and further investigation that's needed. But on that particular issue, as you were aware, there was deep concerns about those allegations, but the Royal Commission of Inquiry itself was unable to make a finding on that because there wasn't substantiated evidence. But again, I just encourage anyone and everyone where you've seen or experienced abuse. For many people, it's traumatising to go back through the process again. We're working through the survivors' experience services to make sure that they can have access to their own record that they've submitted to the Royal Commission of Inquiry. If that can be then released, so it's used back into with police for an investigation, but that's all good. That's all good work. But we do encourage people to come forward so that police, in fairness, can actually go through a process of investigation.
Have you been debriefed on what happens if people do come forward?
Yes, well, we're working that through. You've got to understand from a survivor's point of view, there's a number of opinions from within the survivor community as well. It's quite a sensitive topic, and we are working with them over the course. We've started that process already, and we'll continue to work with them between now and the end of the year. Sorry.
Last question, guys.
Can you look at Laura?
Sorry.
Do Kura kaupapa need an origin of treaty provisions?
Sorry?
Kura kaupapa, the thing that's been done by the right wing, the treaty provisions, do Kura kaupapa need an origin?
Look, I haven't been briefed on that. I haven't read that material yet.
Just back to
Last
this,
one, guys, then we've got to go.
Sorry, Laura.
back to this. Because you've heard these anecdotes today that people feel more secure than having these cops downtown, does this mean you will further investigate having an actual office in the downtown precinct as Heart of the City launch?
Look, we'll take advice on that. We obviously our job has been to release more funding to police so they can actually get their police officers forward deployed onto the beats. That's been our focus. I think it's been a great first step to make the commitment to the 63 new officers here in Auckland. I think we've got 17 or so in Wellington, I think 11 or so in Christchurch. And the fact that that's happening very quickly and people are starting to feel that that's a good thing. But we'll be open to that down the road. But for right here, right now, it's about doing what we can immediately, that when we make a decision, and as the Commissioner made the announcement at the end of June, to see within a matter of 3 weeks actually an impact being felt is actually a really good thing.
So maybe there isn't a need.
Well, there may not be, and there may be. I just don't know, but that's something we'll look at down the road. But the bigger question is get the police out on the beat, which is what the police and the Commission have committed to doing and have done so well, so that we can actually start to get people feeling safer in their work and their communities.
Just last one, talking about lowering the reduction of child poverty rates. You're obviously a big fan of ambitious plans. We saw that in your quarterly report. Why not be ambitious about lowering the child poverty rates?
Well, we are. We want to get more people off welfare and into work because we think that's a very good thing. We're concerned about children that are in benefit-dependent homes. There's obviously a range of child poverty measures that are across the piece, but the ones that we're focused on, we're focused on all of them, obviously, but they often work at cross purposes with each other, if I'm honest, and we're really focused on making sure we get the economy pumping, we get people off welfare into work, and we know that's a better outcome for children and those families as well. Okay, thanks guys, appreciate it.
We need to leave.